Following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers. This is the TFfangeek coming to you with the third and final part of my review of Missing Link Optimus Prime. And for the third and final part, we will be taking a look at Prime in his robot mode. So yeah, this is the myth, the legend, the one that started it all. This is the original Transformers Generation 1 Optimus Prime action figure. And compared to more modern Optimus Prime action figures, it's a pretty basic design by today's standards in the 21st century, but 40 years ago in 1984, this was top-notch technology, and yeah, I'm really thrilled with how Missing Link Optimus Prime turned out. I don't know if the original Generation 1 figure had this swivel joint in the shoulder, but yeah, here he is. Here's a close-up of his face shot, and he has the cartoon-accurate yellow eyes. There is no light piping on Optimus Prime, which is accurate to the head sculpt on the original Generation 1 figure. I guess that's really nice. But it is nice that they went with the yellow eyes for the G1 action figure version of him. I've always preferred yellow-eyed Optimus Prime over blue-eyed Prime. In terms of, but yeah, he's really nice. The robot mode chest, as I pointed out in his alt mode, it's made of die-cast metal, so are his robot mode feet. I don't know if there's any other parts of him made out of die-cast metal apart from the chrome bits, and then of course the tires from his wheels are made of rubber. So he does have quite a bit of weight to him. But yeah, I'm just really ecstatic to finally have this figure in my Transformers collection. I've been wanting for years to have a copy of Generation 1 Optimus Prime, and I actually surprised some of my subscribers and fellow Transformers collectors when I told them I still did not have any version of Generation 1 Optimus Prime, and that's because I couldn't find any at a decent price. I did find one at a thrift store one time, but I didn't have enough money to buy it, and by the time I had enough money to buy it and I went back to the thrift store, it was gone. But I'm kind of glad I missed out on that version because it only had one hand. And so, as far as similarities go between the Missing Link Prime and the original Generation 1 Prime, I believe all the sculpt detailing on the chest, the front grille and bumper section, and the robot mode legs and the arms, most of it's pretty similar in design, even with the smokestacks, although instead of swivel joints, the elbow joints are now on ratchets. One thing that I do believe is different is that these painted detailings on his knee pads and here on his lower arms, on the original Generation 1 figure, as I mentioned in part 2 of the review, which is I believe true on the other version of Missing Link Prime, which is the cartoon accurate version. These paint apps on Optimus Prime's lower arms and knees, they were originally stickers on the original Generation 1 figure, but here on Missing Link Prime they're actually sculpted into the surface of him. So that's really nice to see that they're actually a sculpted detailing here on him. So that's pretty great. I think that was a neat decision on on Takara Tomy's part. I believe the parts that are the same as Generation 1 Prime are the upper arms, the robot mode head, and the upper half of Optimus Prime's torso, but the lower arms, and I believe one thing is, I believe his shins on his upper legs are the same with the fuel tanks, and of course the wheels and his feet, but the lower legs, the pelvis, and the lower arms on Missing Link Prime are different from the original Generation 1 version. One feature he has that actually came to my attention that it wasn't shown in the instruction sheet on the original Generation 1 figure, but you could open up his chest door, and on the original Generation 1 Optimus Prime figure, this was just an empty cavity where you could put Diaclone pilot seats on here if you desired. You can, if you want, remove the matrix chamber, and then, as you can see, as I mentioned this in Optimus Prime's review when I looked at his alt mode, there underneath the matrix chamber are the original chairs for the Diaclone pilots. As you desire. The matrix chamber is made entirely out of chrome silver, just like all the rest of Optimus Prime's chrome parts, and it's a nice visual to show what the matrix chamber would have looked like if it had been a feature on the original Generation 1 toy. The matrix is removable, as I showed off when it was installed inside the box. It was separate, so you can pull it out, but I highly recommend being very careful when you remove the matrix, since it's gold chrome sitting on silver chrome and there could be scraping over time. But yeah, if you want to take the matrix chamber out and make this figure look as much like Generation 1 Optimus Prime as possible, where the center of his torso is actually hollowed out for the Diaclone pilots, then you have that option. But really briefly, we'll go over. Actually, before I do, what I was gonna say is really briefly, I'll bring out the trailer transformed into the repair bay. And so here it is. So I'll move my camera just to get it in full screen. So there you go. There's the repair bay. And so you can put it behind Optimus Prime. You can even have him standing here on the base of it. And now the repair bay is repairing Prime. You can have the claw arm come over here and repair him and make sure that he's back at full strength. So that's what the trailer does. That's what the trailer transforms into when Optimus Prime is in his robot mode, is a repair station. And then of course you can still have Roller rolling around and hanging out with him. But let's focus on the selling point of Missing Link Optimus Prime, and it's his new modern articulation. Before we do, one more thing I don't want to forget is that he does come with the Energon axe. The Energon axe, Optimus Prime used just one time in one single episode of the original Generation 1 cartoon. It was episode 2 when he and Megatron were fighting on top of a hydro dam, and instead of pulling out his ion blaster, Optimus Prime instead had an energon axe deploy out of his arm, and Megatron had a mace or a flail. I can't remember the difference between a mace and a flail. I think it's a flail. I think a mace is the one that's spiked ball that hangs from a chain, and then a flail is the one that's attached to a staff. But they pulled out weapons made out of energon, and they used it to fight each other. Megatron won the one-on-one duel, but Optimus Prime and the Autobots prevailed in the end. And that was a common theme with episodes of the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon. But the point is that even though it only appeared for a couple of seconds throughout the entirety of the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon, Optimus Prime's Energon axe, that was such an iconic moment for people watching the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon back in 1984 that years later Hasbro designers and ours would contact Takara Tomy, and they go, you know what, Optimus Prime used an axe one time in the G1 cartoon, so why don't we give him that axe once again? And now in more recent years, along with his ion blaster, a battle axe is now Optimus Prime's weapon of choice when fighting Megatron and the Decepticons. One thing I do like here for the battle axe here is that they've designed it so that you just pop this one piece off it open, and then you can slide it on and off of Optimus Prime's hand, so you can make it look like he's actually deployed it out of his wrist. It's just like on the original, just like he did in the one episode of the G1 cartoon that he used it. So that's a really nice feature there of how that works out. I'm setting the axe off to the side for just a moment to show one thing that Optimus Prime with Missing Link Prime has, is that he now has open and closing fingers on his hands, so you can get him into a hand-shaking position if you want with other Transformers figures that have retractable fingers. In terms of articulation that the original Generation 1 Optimus Prime figure had, the elbows, as I said, they're now ratchet joints, but they do move up and down at the arms. The hands you actually popped on and off out of the headlights on the wrists of Optimus Prime, so he was a parts former originally, so the hands did have wrist swivels, so that was another joint the original figure had. The arms could move inward and outward at the shoulders due to transformation, so you could get Optimus Prime into somewhat of a arms outward pose if you wanted on it. And then the legs could go up and down at the hips, and they bend in at the knees. The hip joint was also doubled as a transformation joint. Same thing with Optimus Prime's feet moving up and down at the toes. That was articulation on the original Generation 1 Optimus Prime figure had, but thanks to Takara Tomy designing new engineering, Optimus Prime's hands are now permanently attached to his wrists, and so when you transform Optimus Prime back and forth between alt mode and robot mode, what you do to the arms now, instead of just popping the hand off, what you have to do is very carefully, because they are somewhat fiddly, but you have to move out Optimus Prime's hands in like that at the wrist, and get him in this type of pose, and then when you transform Optimus Prime into his robot mode, the hands now sit in these enlarged cavity spaces there on the inside of the tractor section, and so there it is now, forming a part of Optimus Prime's arm. It does clip in place properly. Of course, now that I'm showing it off on camera, it doesn't want to actually transform correctly. But you get the idea. That's how Optimus Prime's arms now transform on Missing Link Optimus Prime. So it's an easy enough concept. It's an easy enough re-engineering, but it's one that makes this figure so much more, gives this figure so much more action poses and display value than ever before. So onto the new joints for Optimus Prime. One other joint that he had, as the same as the original Generation 1 figure, is that the head can spin 360 degrees clockwise and counterclockwise. But for new joints, Optimus Prime's arms can now go up at the shoulder, and there's actually double shoulder joints, so you can make Optimus Prime move his arms inward or now outward at the shoulder joint. They spin 360 degrees clockwise and counterclockwise. He does have a waist swivel, but the front bumper section, moving the arm out of the way, the front bumper tends to make contact with the tires, so the waist joint, it can't really be used that much. If you get the arms out of the way, Optimus Prime's wheels, and you then pivot them up, you can move the legs out, turning around, so you can see you can move the legs out here at the hips, so you can get Optimus Prime into somewhat of a sprawl-legged position, so that's really nice there. He does have, I don't believe he has swivel joints in the thighs. That would have been nice to be able to do that, but yeah, no swivel joints in the thighs as far as I can tell. There's none. And if there are, I'm not going to try it because they feel nice and tight on my figure. The knee joint, just like the elbow joints, the knee joints on the original Generation 1 Optimus Prime figure were swivels, but they're now ratchets. So that's really nice there. And like I said, the toes on the G1 figure would pivot up and down, but he now has ankle rockers in the toes, so if you spread Optimus Prime's legs out, you can now plant his feet on the ground, and so yeah, there is a lot of articulation that Optimus Prime now has as in his robot mode. So a lot of Transformers fans and collectors probably never imagined that they would get a fully articulated Generation 1 Optimus Prime action figure like this. Oh, and the knee joint also there's one ratchet where you can get the knee backwards, so you can get Optimus Prime into a running or fighting position like this if you desire. So yeah, a lot of engineering went into giving Generation 1 Optimus Prime modern articulated joints. Alright, so that's the selling point of this figure, and I was one of the collectors who decided to go all in on it, and yeah, I do not regret at finally getting a Generation 1 Optimus Prime figure that has modern articulation. Some people have been saying that having Generation 1 Optimus Prime with the same modern articulated joints that other Transformers figures have, it's a question where, if if it's going too far if they weren't there, but for me personally, the point I was trying to get as my train of thought derailed on me is that I think this is one of the best ideas that Takara Tomy has had, is giving the original Generation 1 Optimus Prime figure added articulation. So bringing Roller back in for just a moment. So here he is with the axe, and for a size comparison, since we had him in alt mode, here is Missing Link / Generation 1 Optimus Prime with the Legacy United Deluxe Class G1 Optimus Prime figure. So for those of you out there who might not have the budget to add the Missing Link Optimus Prime action figure in your collection, Hasbro has you covered with this new Deluxe Class G1 inspired Optimus Prime action figure that was released in the Legacy United line. So yeah, Legacy United Optimus Prime, he's only half the size of Generation 1 Optimus Prime, so Generation 1 Optimus Prime, he's in between the size of a large deluxe and a small Voyager class modern figure. Size classes of Transformers figures as they are today, they didn't start off until the Beast Wars line in 1996, so the sizes of the Generation 1 Transformers figures are different than other lines of Transformers action figures, and as a result they're also of different sizes as well. Also, there's a size comparison with that figure. So to wrap up the review before I start babbling on anymore, or for my final question, the proverbial question for the review, do I recommend getting the Transformers Missing Link Optimus Prime action figure and adding it to your Transformers collection? I absolutely do. You cannot go wrong having this latest version of Generation 1 Optimus Prime with all the modern articulated joints that the original Generation 1 Transformers action figures had. And I am just thrilled to finally have a copy of Generation 1 Optimus Prime in my collection. I highly recommend getting this figure if you can. And that's pretty much all I have to say. So this is a dream come true, finally being able to have Generation 1 Optimus Prime in my Transformers collection. And lo and behold, the dream doesn't stop there, because thanks to Takara Tomy, with Tomy designing the Missing Link line, this figure now has modern articulation, modern joints, so you can get into modern action poses. Thank you guys all so much for watching. This has been the TFfangeek. This has been part 3 of my 900 subscriber special video review of the Transformers Takara Tomy exclusive Missing Link Optimus Prime. I highly recommend getting this figure if you can. Thank you for helping me reach 900 subscribers. And until next time, you guys, please remember to stay safe, stay healthy, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.